You're in a 4,000-meter pursuit on the track, or you're into an all-out bridge on the road. It started hard, but now it's something else entirely. Your legs are heavy. Not tired heavy, but something worse, like thick, seized, like the muscles are fighting against themselves. The power is dropping off, and there's nothing you can do about it. Your brain is saying, go, go, go. Your legs are saying, no, no, no. In the energy systems episodes, we talked about hydrogen ions building up during hard efforts. We said they impair enzyme function, PFK slowing down, inorganic phosphate interfering with contraction, but we didn't really get into the detail. That's acid-base balance, the regulation of acidity inside you. And it turns out your body has an entire set of defense systems dedicated to keeping pH stable. And when those systems get overwhelmed, performance drops. When you train them or supplement them, performance improves. And this matters most for efforts lasting 30 seconds to about 12 minutes. So the pursuit, the short, punchy, hard climb, the breakaway effort. If your racing includes anything in that range, this is directly relevant. pH, the tension of hydrogen, a measure of the concentration of hydrogen ions in a solution. Blood pH normally sits between 7.35 and 7.45, slightly alkaline. Below 7.35 is acidosis and above is alkalosis. Small shifts has real consequences. An acid liberates hydrogen ions, increases their concentration. A base combines with hydrogen ions, decreases concentration. The more readily a molecule combines with hydrogen, the stronger the base. Bicarbonate is a strong base. Remember that, it will come back later. And one thing worth correcting, I've spoken about it multiple times. Lactic acid you hear about constantly in cycling. My legs are full of lactic acid. Technically, it can't happen. As a complete molecule, it doesn't exist in the body. It dissociates almost immediately into lactate and a hydrogen ion. What you're dealing with is lactate and hydrogen ions separately. The distinction matters. Lactate is a buffer. It helps. The hydrogen ions are the problem. We said that in the first episode. So now let's look at what the hydrogen ions actually do. What goes wrong when your muscles become more acidic? First, glycolysis slows down. PFK, the main rate limiter, we've talked about it. PFK is inhibited by a drop in pH. When the environment becomes more acidic, PFK's activity is reduced. Since PFK sets the pace for the entire glycolytic pathway, everything downstream slows. Less glucose broken down, less pyruvate, less ATP. The bottleneck is the thing that matters. I've said that every time. And here, the bottleneck isn't the enzyme's capacity, it's the environment the enzyme is working in. The hydrogen ions are changing the conditions, and the conditions are changing the output. Think about what that means. You're in a hard effort, you need glycolysis running flat out, but the byproducts of that effort are actively slowing the pathway that's producing your energy. It's a negative feedback loop. The harder you go, the more you impair your ability to keep going. Second, muscle contraction itself. Hydrogen ions compete with calcium ions at the binding site on troponin. Calcium binding to troponin is what triggers contraction. When hydrogen ions occupy those sites, instead contraction is reduced. Your muscles can't generate as much force. Not because they're out of fuel, because the chemistry at the contraction site is changed. That heavy seized feeling at the end of a hard pursuit, partly this, hydrogen ions blocking calcium, less contraction per signal. Third, enzymes. Broadly, enzymes can denature in acidic conditions, lose their shape. The locking key stops working. Not just PFK, but multiple enzymes across multiple pathways. Now, not all exercise carries the same risk. And this is useful to know because it tells you where buffering capacity actually matters for your performance. A 200-meter sprint is low risk. The phosphagen system covers it. A marathon, also low risk. Intensity is managed. It's mostly aerobic. A 400-meter run, high risk. An 800, even higher. It's long enough for significant accumulation, intense enough that anaerobic glycolysis is dominant. On the bike, efforts lasting roughly 45 seconds to a few minutes at near maximal intensity, say pursuits, hard kilos, bridging to a break, a steep climb, 2 minutes without the subtle effort. And sprint finishes in longer events, the final kilometre in a road race, acute acid-base disturbance, even if the overall event is aerobic. So your body doesn't just let pH crash, it fights back. Buffer systems resist changes in pH by accepting hydrogen ions when there are too many and releasing them when there aren't enough, converting strong acids into weak ones, softening the blow. But And this matters. Buffering doesn't remove hydrogen ions from the body, it parks them, it buys time. Actual removal happens through the lungs and the kidneys. Two categories: Inter- intracellular, inside the cell, and extracellular, in the blood and the fluid outside. So out the cell, three main buffers. Bicarbonate, that's the big one. Carbon dioxide combines with water to form carbonic acid, which dissociates into bicarbonate and hydrogen ions. And here's the clever part: carbonic acid can be eliminated by exhaling CO2. So the respiratory side of the system can actually remove hydrogen ions from the body by breathing them out. You breathe harder during intense exercise partly for this reason, not just to get oxygen in, but to get that CO2 out. Hemoglobin has amino acids that accept hydrogen ions and carries CO2, double duty. Blood proteins contributing to the pool inside the cell, proteins, phosphate groups, bicarbonate again. And carnosine, this one's important. When we talk about supplementation, carnosine is an intracellular buffer found in high concentrations in skeletal muscles, particularly in fast-twitch fibers. So remember that. There's an elegant connection between pH and oxygen delivery. Hemoglobin's oxygen binding affinity is inversely related to acidity. In plain terms, when blood glucose becomes more acidic, hemoglobin releases oxygen more readily. Where does this matter? Your working muscles during a hard effort, producing CO2, producing hydrogen ions. Local environment is more acidic and hemoglobin releases its oxygen preferentially right there at the tissues that need it most. At the lungs, where pH is higher and CO2 is being exhaled, hemoglobin loads up, travels to the muscles, conditions are acidic and it unloads more easily. The delivery system isn't just bigger with training, it's better targeted. And we'll go deeper on the delivery system next time. So cardiac output, stroke volume, capillarization, the whole thing, because it turns out all the metabolic machinery we've been talking about depends on one thing above anything else: oxygen. But for now, the Bohr effect connects acid-base balance to the oxygen delivery in a way that actually helps you during hard efforts. Your body is using acidity as a signal to deliver oxygen where it's needed most. Can training improve your ability to buffer? Yes, and the evidence is specific. Riders who train with short, hard efforts above threshold with incomplete recovery improve their buffering capacity more than riders doing the same total volume at moderate intensity. Same hours on the bike, but a different result. So what does this training look like? So we're talking 2-minute efforts at 120 to 140% of your lactate threshold, 1 minute recovery, 6 to 10 reps. And the difference shows up specifically in the later efforts, not the first sprint, the fourth, the fifth, where the acid is built up and the buffers are what's keeping you going. It's not the first attack that separates riders, the fifth, the sixth, the ability to keep responding when the metabolic environment has deteriorated. And high intensity work, specifically efforts above threshold with short recovery, develops that capacity more than moderate intensity work at the same volume. So training is one route, supplementation is another. And there's two with solid evidence, and both target what we've just been talking about. Sodium bicarbonate, remember bicarbonate, the strong base that accepts hydrogen ions? You can top it up. You take it before a race, so 0.2 to 0.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, 60 minutes to 3 hours out. And what does it increase? Blood pH and blood bicarbonate concentration, more extracellular buffer available before you even start. And where does it help? Again, those efforts, 30 seconds to 12 minutes, pursuits, kilos, hard climb, breakaway efforts. A track league night with multiple events is the kind of scenario where this pays off. Think about what's happening. You're about to do a pursuit. You know the hydrogen ions are coming. You know they're going to inhibit PFK and compete with calcium. And you've preloaded a bigger pool of the thing that parks those hydrogen ions. You haven't changed the engine. You've given the defense system more ammunition. And fair warning, it can cause GI stress. It's worth practicing in training first. It's a bit like gut training for fueling. Don't find out on race day that it doesn't agree with you. Beta-alanine and carnosine. This one works differently. It's a longer time scale, but it's inside the cell rather than outside. Carnosine is an intracellular buffer. It's high concentrations in skeletal muscles, particularly fast twitch fibers. And the thing that limits how much carnosine your bodies can make is beta-alanine. Beta-alanine is the bottleneck for carnosine synthesis. The research on this is solid. Loading 3 to 6 grams of beta-alanine per day for about 4 to 6 weeks pushes muscle carnosine up by 30 to 50%. And under normal conditions, carnosine contributes about 6 to 7% of intracellular buffer after loading. That can reach 15%. And it sticks around. Washout takes 14 to 15 weeks. So you load it up once and you've got months of increased intracellular buffering capacity. And here's the way to think about the two together. So sodium bicarbonate is the awaiting. Extracellular, acute, taken before the event. It tops up the buffer pool outside the cell. Beta-alanine is the home team. It's intracellular. It's chronic. You build it up over weeks through carnosine. Tops up the buffer pool inside the cell. Different buffers, different locations, different timescale, but both targeting hydrogen ion accumulation during hard efforts, both giving your defense system more to work with. When your leg sees up, when the power drops, when you just can't hold it, it's not random, it's not weakness, it's just an acid-base disturbance. Hydrogen ions inhibiting PFK, slowing glycolysis, competing with calcium, reducing contraction and denaturing enzymes. And your body is fighting back the whole time. Bicarbonate accepting hydrogen ions, hemoglobin buffering and delivering oxygen preferentially through the Bohr effect. Your lungs blowing off CO2, carnosine buffering inside the cell. The question is whether the defense can keep up with the attack, and you can shift that balance. High intensity training improves buffering capacity. Sodium bicarbonate tops up extracellular buffers before a race. Beta-alanine increases intracellular carnosine over weeks. That pursuit, the short punchy climb, the sprint finish, these are the efforts where buffering makes the difference between holding on and blowing up. Now, next time we zoom out, because everything we've talked about, every pathway, every enzyme, every bottleneck depends on one thing and one thing only: oxygen supply. And oxygen supply depends on your heart, cardiac output, stroke volume, the delivery system that sits above everything else. And that's what determines your VO2 max. And it's the most trainable thing about you. Saddleupcycling.co.uk if you want to get in touch with me. Saddle up, and remember, lactic acid isn't why your legs hurt. It never was. Now go tell that to some hybrid rock star, all right? See ya. Cheers.